Over the last month or so, we've been on the road like crazy. We took a trip to Orlando where I helped Doug Sperling as he ran a Scale Live event, and then spoke at a Perform Better event in Orlando. And then and my family went with me, and we hung out and took a little vacation. Soon after that, we went to California where we hosted our boardroom mastermind meeting, and again took a little bit of a vacation, did some stuff there, and and then finally we went back, and my family and I went to Florida for a baseball tournament, a little travel World Series thing that they do in Panama City. And what I enjoy about trips like this, well, one of the many things I enjoy about trips like this is there are so many things that you can notice. There's so many ways that people have created opportunities for themselves or leveraged opportunities and built businesses around them. And I wanted to talk about that for a moment because I think that there are no shortage of opportunities, but there's usually some limits to what we notice and how we take advantage of them. So in Panama City at this travel ball kind of World Series thing that we did, the the host, the guy who owns this organization, he owns an organization that hosts these events. And there are, I think, four big events that he does, and then a handful of other events that may be, you know, half to 70% as big at other times of the year. And um, it it is a multiple seven-figure business, and he has an organization that they kind of generate leads through this organization. So this organization, they have like state directors for tournaments, and they help provide kind of an infrastructure for these directors to host tournaments in their area. But really, the way that this owner monetizes this is all these people who have teams that play in those regional events. They're trying to feed them into these local events that they host in Panama City. And this guy's been running this for like 20 years, and it's just a powerhouse thing where they have dozens and dozens of teams that pay a substantial entry fee that you know also every family member has to buy a wristband for access to the tournament. They sell everything from swag to photographs to live streaming opportunities to having concession stands. And they really do a good job monetizing this. And I think this guy had enough foresight that 20 years ago, I mean, travel baseball, travel sports were not quite as prominent as they are now. Maybe something that little known. I spoke about travel sports and kind of where they were and the role they played in the grand scheme of things way back when I was coaching college baseball, like 25 years ago. And it was maybe 5% as large and prominent as it is now. And I think he was on the front end of this, and he saw some opportunities. He doesn't own the fields that they play at. He leases them. He finds sponsors locally because Panama City is very much a tourist destination. Finds sponsors because these, if a team, like in our case, we have 11 players, but our traveling party for this, and mind you, it's a little bit bigger than most, was 51 people between siblings and parents and grandparents. 51 people. So that's 51 people coming to this area. And you think about the amount of money that 51 person traveling party spent. And we were one team of, I would assume, 75 at this event. And they do it 4 weeks in a row. And then they have these smaller events. And you can imagine the impact on a local economy this sort of thing has. So it's easy for him to go find sponsors to cover most, if not all, of his fixed cost. And they they take advantage of this. But he saw an opportunity. He saw this growth happening, and these facilities that may, at one point it was one facility and now they use two facilities that were underutilized or even dormant at certain times of the year, and he could go in and rent them and not have to pay the millions of dollars to buy the land and build the facilities. So he only has to pay for them when he's using them. And it's such a smart way that he's monetized this, and plenty of other organizations do this, and now private equity is involved in this. But there aren't a whole lot of people that were just like a solopreneur who put this together and just saw an opportunity, took advantage of it, and built on it. And even when we go to, like, we went to Universal Studios in Hollywood, and the founder of Universal Studios, he saw an opportunity. He said, "Look, people are curious, people are voyeuristic, they want to see behind the scenes." And so Universal Studios originally started out, the consumer side of the business, not the movie studio, started out by just offering tours, and you could go behind the scenes and see how movies were made. And again, it was an opportunity that other people in the movie industry were not capitalizing on. And I think that in a lot of cases, really what it comes down to is awareness of what people are interested in, right? What are people talking about? But maybe, you being the first to figure out how to tap into that, or you being the person who can show them how to make the most of the things that they're aware of. I see it right now in our industry with the weight loss drugs, right? Things like Ozempic, um, just massive awareness. But for whatever reason, um, you know, there are a lot of people in our industry. We kind of almost see it as some adversarial thing. We see it as something cutting into our business. And it's interesting, right? Like, people don't hide the fact that they take blood pressure medication or cholesterol medication. Man, they will hide the fact that they take Ozempic. They'll say, "No, I did this through hard work and discipline and willpower," knowing that lifestyle changes could positively affect blood pressure or cholesterol or whatever else too. But they don't have that same response. And I think some of it is our industry almost like shaming people for taking that approach. There's going to be somebody in our industry, and there are probably a few people doing it now, but they're going to see how, okay, the market is aware of this. How can I leverage this to my advantage? How can I build on this? And how can I use this to grow my business? Can I show the market how somebody can use this to gain some traction? But I can tell them how to keep the weight off, to use it to create momentum. And admittedly, with all medications, there are going to be side effects and all that other stuff. But if the market is already on board with it, at some point somebody has to figure out in our industry, like, how do we capitalize on this? How do we take advantage of it? How do we leverage these opportunities for our benefit rather than railing against it? I think there are opportunities all around the market. They're interested, they're curious, but they don't, they may not know how to do something. In our industry, I think that AI is an interesting case study for that. There are a lot of people in our industry thinking, "Hey, how can I use AI to help me grow or improve my business?" But the way that most people would use it to create content, it may harm their business significantly more than it would help, because it's generic and bland, and it certainly doesn't set you apart and may cause people to ignore you. But there's a way, right? Like, there's a way to leverage this, and somebody in our industry will be adaptable and opportunistic and say, okay, this is how you can leverage AI to save time, to help you magnify what you do, to help you distribute it to more people, to help you speed up the process of creation or redistribution. And so instead of instinctively looking at things and saying, well, I don't want to be involved in that, or that's not for me, or just kind of ignoring it altogether, the better approach is to look at what people are paying attention to, look at what they're curious about, look at where things may be headed and say, how can I connect what I'm doing with those things and what kind of opportunities that can that create for me? Because if you see that happening, you'll you'll be kind of on the front end. You'll ride the wave. I mean, it's happened throughout history, right? It is happened time and time again. I mean, I think back to when the highway system was developed in the United States. I mean, obviously there were people who figured out, putting up motels and putting up restaurants along the highways and gas stations and all of that. People saw the opportunity. People saw that people throughout the U.S. were going to drive more frequently. So they saw those opportunities. Well, there are opportunities like that happening all the time. And you just have to be one of the savvy ones to take advantage of it. That's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to be one step ahead instead of one step behind of where the market's headed.